Hello everyone, and welcome to a scrapbook layout process video where I'm going to use these gorgeous gold foil papers that are from the Nature's Sweetness 12 by 12 Specialty Designer Series paper. You get 12 sheets of this gorgeous paper. You get 2 of each design, and I'm hoping that the lights are picking up on all of the gorgeous gold foil treatment. I love papers that have script on them or newspaper type text and grid lines as well. So this for me was a must have as soon as Julie showcased these gorgeous papers in her unboxing. I absolutely love them, and I don't know how I missed ordering them with my very first order. I'm going to flip these over so you can see the reverse side. These don't have any of the gold foil, so it's a very versatile paper pack. And what I love is the fact that this one here that is so shiny and gold, this has script on it as well. So I will probably be using this side, but I can see that this paper will be perfect for Christmas cards and Christmas layouts as well. And one of the other things that I love about this paper is this grid design. It's a textured design, so it's not solid lines. So that to me is absolutely fabulous. But I think for the layout that I'm going to do today, it's going to be using the gold foil designs, and you might be surprised about what stamp set I'm going to pair with this. And this is because of the photos that I'm scrapbooking today. You can see I've done some treatment on these. I'm going to show you how I did this. I do have a photo set aside to show you this, but this is a running joke with the creative design team girls. Whenever one of us shows us something that we might not have, or it's new and it's a tool, or it could be something to do with storage, we all have this little joke if we go off and buy it, that it's hashtag Chelsea made me do it, or hashtag Julie made me do it, or Jama and Erin and Andrea and Katie, they've all made me purchase items that I knew that I had to have. Since I actually took these photos, there have been a lot more additions to this. So I did use an editing tool for this where I could put the text on the actual photo and then put like a vellum strip over the top with a little description of what it was that I bought. From way back in Creative Memories days, I used to use Storybook, and now it's called Artisan. So I do still use that program when I want to do something like this, but you can achieve this with a lot of apps that are out there, and I recommend PicFrame. That's one of the ones that I think is the better one, because when you save your photos from the app, they're saving them at the highest resolution. It's not downgrading the resolution at all, and you can put text boxes and have banners and things like that on there and achieve this sort of result in it. There is a nominal monthly subscription rate to that, and it really isn't that much, but that will then remove the watermark. You will get a watermark on them if you haven't paid the monthly subscription, but it's not terribly much. And the price, of course, depends whereabouts in the world you live. The reason why I remembered these photos, and I had to go digging to find them because I have had them printed for quite some time. On the recent holiday that the creative design team did in Vancouver, Julie gifted us all with these fabulous water bottles, and it's got our little logo on there. And then on the reverse side, she labeled them with the hashtag so that we didn't get them all mixed up. And this was such a wonderful gift, although I was actually banned from taking it everywhere because I'm guilty of putting my water bottle down to take a photo and then walking away and leaving it behind. So the girls were always picking it up after me. But it was such a thoughtful gift. And then when I got back, I realized that I never did these photos that I was going to do. So I'm going to be creating an 8.5 by 11 scrapbook process today. And these papers are all from Stampin' Up, and I'm going to bring in trusty tools. Now, when you think of trusty tools and tool sets, you don't normally think of pretty gold foil paper, but this is a crafting scrapbook layout. So I think it's fine to bring in some pretty gold foil paper with this. So I'm going to be using the stamp set. I did go ahead and I purchased the dies with this as well. And the cool thing about it is you get more dies in here than you do stamp images. So you can build a drill, you can build a toolkit, you've got spanners, tape measures, all sorts of things, and a pegboard as well. But some of these are standalone die sets from the actual stamp set. It opens up a whole lot of possibilities. So I'm just going to put this aside, and then I'm going to show you the papers that I think I'm going to pick from this set. I think I want this one with the gold splatter, and I think I'm going to use also this grid paper here. So I'm just going to take all of these other papers away and just lay my photos out on top of them. And there is a lot of white on white here. I'm building onto white cardstock, And that is why I decided with my photos that I wanted to give them a black outline. I didn't want to mat them in black paper because I didn't want the bulk on an 8.5 by 11 with all the photos that I've got to scrapbook here. So I think that will make it stand out quite well with this black outline. So I'm just quickly going to show you how I did that. Now you could use stays on for this. I'm actually using Close to My Heart Archival Black. Rather than using a tool and getting a lot of ink around these, I am just doing one of my favorite quick ways of distressing the edges of papers and photos by just simply dragging this through. I'm not angling the paper too much, and I don't want to touch these edges because I want to give the ink time to dry and I don't want it to smudge on my photos. I've just got a photo here that's upside down. You can see how well that defines the white border that are on all of these photos from the pattern papers. So I'm going to put this aside to dry, and then I'm going to show you this stamping that I'm going to do for this. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to cut this up yet. I'm going to do that in a moment. I want to get my stamping done first. I'm going to flip my Versamat over, and I have done some images already for my page, but I wanted to show you how well Stampin' Up! Stamp live on camera. So I'm just using Memento ink, which is an ink that I used to use quite some time ago when Close to My Heart carried it, and I'm very pleased that Stampin' Up! Carry this ink as well. It's great for alcohol ink markers, and as long as you set this aside to dry a little bit, it is great to use with those alcohol ink markers. But look how beautifully that stamps. At this stage, I'm thinking I'm only going to use these two images on my page. They stamp up so beautifully. I'm really pleased with the quality of the stamp sets. They really do stamp beautifully. I've been playing quite a lot since I've come back, and I've got some things to show you that I've been working on, but that's for a video for next week. But I know I haven't been getting a bad stamp image at all using Stampin' Up! Stamps. So now what I'm going to do is colour these pieces in. So you can see I've got a little bit of a practice here. I'm using Desert Rose. I've used quite a few different colours in these elements here. I'm just going to put those down in front of me here. I'm going to show you this little technique I've done here. But by having the layered stamps, you're able to colour them in quickly and easily, both for the pencils and for the paintbrush and for the other images that are in here as well. I wanted a subtle colour for this, so I'm just using Desert Rose to show this as an example. And I'm going to stamp off and use second generation ink. I'm going to have to edit the video a little bit because I need to put my head over the top of this to position it. And they really are quite easy to line up. A little bit tricky when I'm filming, but you can see how beautifully that colours in. And I'm going to do the same treatment for the pencil. And usually when I've got an image here that doesn't fill up the whole entire block, I usually put it up the top of my block so that I don't stamp like this and get ink smeared all down the bottom here. So I'm going to do the same thing, stamp off and then colour the pencil in. But the second generation ink just gives a beautiful touch to these elements. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you is how I've coloured in the ends of these paintbrushes. You could colour these with markers or coloured pencils, but I've just brought in a small blending brush, and where I've die cut the pieces out that I'm going to use, I've saved that because I want to get ink just on this edge here, and I didn't want it to go onto the white area. I'm just going to move this so it's a bit of a better view. I'm going to use the die cut piece as a mask. So I'm just going to bring that up to the edge here so that it follows along the edge of where the bristles are. And then I'm just going to tap off, and then I'm just going to lightly come in and apply some ink just to the bottom section of those bristles. And you can see how well that works. The top part here is clear of ink and the bottom part here has some colour on it. And you can see it a little bit better with this one that I did in pumpkin. So I'm just going to bring all of the inks in so you can see what I've used. These are all Close to My Heart inks: Desert Rose, Seabrook, Pumpkin, Mist and Sundance. And all of them, whoops, as they fly everywhere. Put those back into my little pot here. And they are all done in second generation ink except for the Seabrook because that was a lighter ink to start with. So that's the Seabrook there. I didn't do second generation ink with that one. So I'm going to clear everything away and then I'm going to start designing the actual page layout now that I've done the prep work. I've got my photos roughly laid out and you can see ink smudges on here, but that's okay because I'm going to be putting some pattern paper down and some die cuts, and I can always turn the piece over once I've got everything in place. Now I have 9 photos on here and I'm using 8.5 by 11 as my size. I have an album of things that I put in there, things that I just love that don't necessarily follow any particular theme. It's not a consecutive order album. It's just photos that I love and things that I want to journal about that make me happy. So I've got one photo on an angle here, and what I'm thinking of doing is putting some of this grid paper down the middle here and then having this one coming out of the side of it. So I think what I'm going to do is trim these ones at about 4.5 inches. And then I'm going to have this coming out at about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to trim these down and I'm going to ink the edges of these as well. So lots of inking going on with the edges. I've laid out the page and I've got my photos put down. I did decide that I would have the text on the outside and then the grid coming in towards the middle. I'll flip these over and I'll tell you why I chose to do that. Sometimes I find if there's a busy pattern in the middle and the outsides are fairly clean, your eye gets drawn to the middle of the page rather than on the photos. Now I know all the photos are upside down here, but I'm hoping you can see what I'm talking about here. This is a fairly busy pattern, even though it's just black and white with some gold flecks. I would consider this to be the busier pattern than the grid here. So when I look at this, rather than looking at the photos, they're separated from here, I'm looking at the center of the page. If I turn this around, you can see that the eye immediately gets drawn to the photos here, and then this is supporting the photos rather than taking away from the photos. So now it's time to bring in some fun elements. For my journaling, I've actually brought in this date stamp set from Close to My Heart. This one came with a little pocket as well, but I'm not using the pocket. But I thought, seeing as I had this on an angle here, I would angle this off to the side, and I also need to distress the edges of this. So I'm just going to leave that here for now rather than putting it on the page because there's some other things that I want to do, and that will give that time to dry. But that separates this. There we go. I've got a smudge already. I'm just going to move that along a little bit. But you can see how that separates it from the background rather than it just being white on white. And in the Trusty Tools dies, there's this great pin board. So I've cut some of Close to My Heart's gold foil paper that I still have left. But I know that there is a lovely gold foil paper with Stampin' Up! That you could use. And I thought it would be fun to have this with a little bit of that pegboard coming out from behind there. And I tried to get a little bit clever because I had a piece that was a little bit larger and run this through again so that I could increase the size of it. And I lined it up and it was all working fine until it shifted in my die cutting machine. And I got this bit of a mess here. So that's okay. I can hide that by putting that there. And then I want to introduce some of this element to the left side because I've got the gold here. And I think this works quite well because there is gold in the papers. I don't want it to be too strong an element, but I don't want to waste this other piece that I've got. So I'm just trimming this down off camera, and you can see I can lift this up just a little bit. I might trim it down a little bit more so this side's all nice and neat, and then I can tuck this under here like a little tab. Actually, I might cut this in half because I can use that somewhere else as well, seeing as most of it is going to be hidden. Let me bring my trimmer in. So I'm just lining this up. I'm using the little guide here as my ruler to get everything nice and straight. So rather than using this as a whole piece, I can use some of this as additional accents around my page. So I think that is going to work quite well. I might have it so that it comes down from the top here and you get the little hole there. So let's adhere that down. Just peeking out a little bit. I'm not going to put it right to the top. And then this one here, I don't know if I'm going to use it or not. Let me see what it looks like if I add an additional piece here. Maybe I can have it coming just out of the top of this piece. I'm just going to rip this a little bit off. I can tuck that under with the edge of my photo. Sorry, my hands are in the way a little bit here. I think that adds a nice little touch. It's just bringing in the elements so that they are cohesive across the page. I'm going to adhere this one down, and then this is going to go here as well. So now I can tuck this one in, and it doesn't look like a library card anymore. Not that that would have bothered me putting it on this page. I like how there are two angled elements. And now I'm going to do my title, and I'm a little bit excited about the title because Stampin' Up! Actually have 3 alpha sets at the moment, and I have all of them. One of them is this mini alphabet die, and when you use this is all in one piece. So you cut all the letters out in one element. So you can see that's what I've cut out from it, and I've just saved the letters that I needed. And also the same with the symbols here and the alternate alphabets. So you can keep this and use this on a page. If you were doing a school page, this would be a perfect little element to put on there. So I'm going to save this, or you can use this as a stencil. So I've gone through and I've got all of my letters out. So I am just going to place these, and it's going to be a hashtag title. So I don't know if you can guess what I'm going to put here as I build this in front of you, when I can find all the little letters. I've got a little pile here of the other ones from that set. I do love how this alphabet works. I used the alphabet a la mode die cut set the other day, and the other alphabet set that they have is actually a stamp set called Classic Letters. So I know I'm going to be using that one quite a bit as well. So I have gone ahead and I've purchased all 3 of those because I think they're very useful in scrapbooking. So I've got hashtag CDT Creatives, and I think it's going to fit across here. I hope it's going to fit across here. I didn't actually test that before I placed the photo. I might have to shift things a little bit. Let's just see if I can get that to work. Did you guess what my title was going to be? No, it's not going to fit. What I'm going to do is build this backwards. And because I've got this dead space here, I can do this over the top of part of this photo here. So that works quite well as a title. I'm going to glue that down, and then I'm going to come back and start putting some of my coloured die cut pieces. Easy colouring when there's a stamp image that will fill those places for you. No need to colour in. It can be achieved quite quickly with just some stamp and some ink. I've got my title laid down, and I did use one of the paintbrushes to put underneath the S here. It sort of finished it off nicely, but it also helped me disguise a little bit of an ink smudge under here. So now I'm going to place the rest of the pieces, and I decided that the pumpkin and the Sundance elements that I had stamped were just a little bit too strong for this. So I am only going to use the Desert Rose, the Mist, and the Seabrook. So I'm thinking I might put one of the brushes on this side and then have another one on this side here. So for me, even though this has the Father's Day and the Dad sort of sentiments on here, I think it works really well with us crafty people as well. And I have my very own toolkit that I use anyway. It's got pink handles and everything, but I love it. And these are my tools of the trade now with crafting. We all have them. We all love them. So why not use this set as a creative type page? I think what I'm going to do is add a pencil and a paintbrush to every element here. This one I might just cross over like this. I'm not quite sure. I could hide the pencil behind the paintbrush rather than having it over the top for all of them. And for this one, I might use the pencil here as a little bit of an underscore. So I quite love how that looks. I'm going to adhere these down. And the reason why it's hashtag CDT Creatives, in case you don't know, you might be new to my channel, the girls that I went overseas with and met up in Vancouver, we're part of the creative design team. So we've come across from close to my heart and signed up as Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, and we're loving showcasing the new product and delving into our stash as well and mixing and matching close to my heart elements with Stampin' Up! Elements. And apart from doing YouTube collabs each month, and we have just come off the back of doing one of those with our new sketchbook, we also have a membership group. Just scooch this one over just a little bit so it lines up with the end of the S. I think that'll work quite well. So that's a private membership group where we do videos every week, creative videos and tip videos. We have challenges and all sorts of wonderful things. And this is where I get to see all of these wonderful products. They're now becoming my very expensive friends, but I love learning from them all. So I'll have some links below with a wait list for our membership group so that when we open up again, you'll get a notification of that if you'd like to join us there. But I thought, why not do a layout specifically for all these tools of the trade that I have bought over time, and I have bought more since. I can't remember when I actually took these photos. It might be a year and a half ago, which is why it took me a long time to actually find them, which then led to a big cleanup. So that's how it goes when you start searching for something. I decided anything I touched when I was searching, I had to make a decision as to whether or not it was a keep or a donate or for the recycle bin. So I've just trimmed the edge off that paintbrush there. I'm really loving how this is coming together. And you might have seen these dots on the edge here. These are the iridescent foil gems. Yes, they do have a bit of pink in them, but they also have gold flecks in here. So I thought they would be fun to scatter around some of these elements just to add a little bit of bling to the page. I know that there's gold foil and everything here as well, but why not add a little bit more bling to this? I'm going to put one. I'm going to need to get this pickup tool that Stampin' Up have. I believe it's wonderful, so I think I'll be adding that to my cart. One of my crafty friends told me that it was a must-have, so I think that's what I'm going to have to do. So I'm just adding these gems in and around the pieces that I've got here. I love these ones. They're very, very pretty. And a little bit of pink is bringing out the Is It Rose elements. There's not a lot of colour on the photos here, but there are soft touches of pink. So I think this is working quite well. All that's left for me to do now is just to add a little bit of journaling here. But that's my 2-page spread done to go into the Things That I Love album that I've got. And if you haven't seen this Nature's Sweetness paper, I suggest you go and check it out online. I will have a link that everything that I've used that's available in the description below, so make sure you click on see more. But I love how this has turned out, and I didn't think I was going to get all of these photos onto an 8.5 by 11, but because I've got some space here, some negative space here, I was able to put my title across the top of here. So it's utilized the space really well, and this gorgeous paper is still visible and gives off all the shimmer and shine, which I absolutely love. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting and bye for now.